Hi everyone, Happy New Year. I hope you all had good holidays and a nice Christmas. It was really chilled for me, which is what I like. So I wanted to do a New Year's video. Last year, if you didn't see last year's one, I'll link it below. But last year I did a sort of positivity New Year's hypnosis video. With this year I decided to mix it up a little bit. So this is more of a kind of a sort of straight talk conversation about certain things I've been thinking about towards the end of last year and early this year. And I just want to say that, I'm not an expert in these things. I'm not a trained, counsellor or life coach or any of those things. This, information and these things that I'm going to talk about with you are purely sort of based on my own experience and based on my own research and what I've learned from other people. I'm not an expert. Some of the stuff I'll be talking about I learned from a lady called Amy Jo Berman, and she is actually an acting coach based in LA. She was the VP casting director at HBO for something like 16 years, but now she's an acting coach and she talks a lot about mindset. So I've got my little list here. I've got a cup of tea. So let's put my pen to the side. Trying to be as quiet as possible. So the first thing I want to talk about is positivity. And that probably sounds really obvious, and it is obvious. It does come across as a lot like common sense, but trying to actually actively live a life of positivity can be quite difficult. So when I say living a life of positivity and keeping things positive in your life, what I mean by that is constantly making sure that things in your day-to-day life and things that you do them because they make you feel happy. And I know this isn't possible to do every single day, but it's really the small things I've come to realise count. So little things like if there's a song that really makes you feel happy or wakes you up, makes you feel fresh, you listen to that in the morning, or if you've had a hard day, you listen to it at night time before you go to sleep to kind of make you feel happy again and reset whatever's been difficult throughout the day. Also, if there's certain places that make you feel happy, something about the environment or the people who are there, or something about what the place is, if that makes you feel happy, then try and go there, when you can, because something about their vibes make you feel good, and you need to always be feeding that side of yourself and trying actively to make yourself feel good. Because I think as human beings it's very easy to concentrate on the negative things or get kind of stuck in a sort of thought circle that's based around negative things that happen, because they do really affect us, they do, and they can be hard to shake off or to forget thinking about, but it's important to try and sort of give your mind an electric shock every now and again to make it focus on something positive and to remind yourself that no, things can be good, and things are good. There are positive things in your life. You just sometimes can't see them because the negativity sort of clouds it, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to do this now as well, is making sure that I do at least one thing a day that's for me. That's something that I find pleasurable or it makes me feel happy. Do something like that once a day at least. If I can do more, I do more. But some of you might have a really busy lifestyle and it's not something that's possible for you to do, which is fine. But trying to do at least one thing or going somewhere that makes you feel happy at least once can really help. Like, for example, I realised that I'd sort of not been listening to music as much last year. And that's purely because I've been busy. So, I'm actively trying to change that now. Similarly, there's certain places that really make me feel good. And that doesn't mean you have to spend lots of money or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a place where you buy things or you have things. It can be a public space. It could be a route you really like to walk, or the way you walk home from work. There's a shortcut and there's a longer way, and the longer way is actually a lot more pleasant, but you take the shortcut because it takes less time. But really, the longer way is what's going to make you feel a bit happier and help you shake the day from your mind. So, take the longer route. If you know what I mean, it's about finding these little things in life that guaranteed make you feel better or happier, or help you disconnect from the hard things that are going on in your life, and actively pursuing those things. It was that, if there's a certain colour that makes you feel good about yourself, or certain things that you like that just make you feel good, wear them. Even if maybe you'd never wear, say yellow really makes you feel happy, and yellow is not a colour you'd ever wear to work, just wear it. No one's gonna be like, oh, you're wearing yellow today, that's strange, you never wear yellow. If it makes you feel good, do it. Like this lipstick, for example, I've not really done anything that exciting today that would require wearing like really bright lipstick. Like I've not gone to a party, I've not really met up with anybody, but just wearing it has made me feel better. It's made me feel nice because I enjoy wearing it. And the next thing is, there might be certain people that make you feel good about yourself, certain people that have a really positive energy, and when you leave them, after spending time with them, you feel like, oh, whoa, that person they've really energized me, or they've made me feel inspired in some way or another, or because you were talking about lasagna, it's made you want to go home and make the best lasagna that you've ever made. And if there's something about them that makes you feel good, then try and see those people as much as you can. Or if you are not feeling good, that if you see that person, you're going to leave feeling a little bit better. But there are people out there who you feel you feel good when you're around them. And the other part of the spectrum of that is there's also people out there that when you're with them, you feel bad about yourself, or something about them doesn't make you feel good. And you can feel that. You might not realise it straight away. It may take seeing them a few times, or it may be years later you realise a friend that you were very close to actually makes you feel bad about yourself, or makes you feel unhappy, or kind of friends that they focus on the negative. They might be a person who always dwells on the negative, and you might see them on a day when you feel really positive, but the fact that they're dwelling on their negativity makes you feel negative or drains you. And this can happen, and it's really hard to know when it is happening and be able to take an action on that. when you see someone who you know makes you feel bad about yourself or makes you feel drained, this is something that you're sacrificing yourself to see that person. You're sacrificing a little part of yourself to see that person. I'm trying hard to say this and make it not sound horrible, but this person or people that make you feel bad, it's not really good to spend too much time with someone like that, because it drags you down, you know, it drains your energy as well. They take the energy that you have, the positivity that you have, drain it from you, and that makes you feel bad or makes you feel negative, or like it's reprogrammed you to focus on the negatives as well. I think it's important to not necessarily not see these people anymore, but limit the context in which you see them. So if it's a day where you woke up feeling quite down, or you're already feeling down, this is not a day when you see them, because it's going to make you feel worse. So maybe you see them on days when you feel really strong and you feel really happy and really positive. That's the time that you see them, because you know psychologically you're strong enough to handle their negative presence. Or maybe it's that you see them in short intervals, you know, you see them for an hour, 2 hours. You don't spend a whole day with them, you know, or you only see them for a coffee, you don't have dinner with them. You know, decide what boundaries are best, and this will be different with every person who's sort of negative in your life. The circumstances will be different, and you have to find what works best for you to see that person. And making the decision to do that does not mean that you don't love that person, or that person isn't an important person to you. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you have to protect yourself, and you have to prioritize you, and hopefully it should make you feel better, you know, generally, on the general day-to-day. If you limit the context and the time that you spend with people who make you feel bad about yourself, I think generally it can make you feel better. So there might be some of you out there who have decided that this year, you know, you have a certain goal, or you want to achieve something by the end of this year, or you want something specific to happen by the end of this year, or even, you know, in the middle of this year, or you have certain resolutions that that you're keeping to. I think that these things are all very achievable. Everything's very achievable. I have goals, I believe they're achievable, and I think at the beginning of the year you kind of feel a big surge of momentum, and maybe you'll take loads of action to achieve your goals in the first month or the first 2 months, but then after that it kind of might start to wear off, or it might be easier not to take actions towards your goal. And I think a way around that is to do small steps, take small actions that can lead to you feeling better, feeling closer, making progress, you know. Sometimes you might not feel like you're making progress, but really you have, because you've made lots of small steps, you've made lots of small actions that at the moment you can't feel the progression of, but as time goes on, it has really helped. You've laid some foundations, or you've put down some baby steps in order to pursue a larger thing. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I think when you try and think about large actions to reach a certain goal, they're harder to do, and sometimes can be unrealistic in terms of helping you achieve your goal, or unrealistic for you to actually be able to do. Whereas small things repeatedly done, like small things every day, small things every other day, are easy to do, and they will add up. It means you're working towards your goal a little bit every day. You won't see the results of it instantly, but when you do see the results will be greater. So I think it's whenever you feel like, oh, you're not progressing, or you want to get to a certain point and you don't feel like you're there, then breaking it down and looking at the positive small things that you have done to achieve your goal. Make a list if you're not feeling good. Write down the things that you have done to pursue your goal. Forget about the things that you feel that you haven't done. Just write down a list of the things that you have done, and then when you look at it, I'm sure there'll be things on there when you think, oh, actually that is really good, because that's going to help me get to X, Y, and Z. I think it's the human mind tends to dwell on the bad things first, and either the positive things come after, or you just don't think about them. You get fixated on the bad things, or no small goal or small action made is worthless. It's not. Like, I could go for an audition, not get it. It happens all the time. But I don't think that going to that audition and meeting that casting director is a waste of time, because it's not. At least they know who you are now. You've met them, they know who you are. And that is an achievement in itself. And I think it's important not to forget about those little things that do take you closer to where you want to be. The past. I know we all know what the past is. The past is something that can be hard to look at, or may have changed you in some ways. But the past is not something that dictates your future. And what I mean by this is to not psychologically get trapped in the past. Just because something happened in the past doesn't mean that same thing will happen again in the future. And the past is difficult, the past is painful, I'm sure we've all had things that have happened in the past that have really been hard to deal with, and you carried a pain for a really long time, or maybe you still carry some difficulties from something bad that happened a really long time ago. It does shape us, but it doesn't say how your future will be. If you've picked up a sort of behaviour, that's because of something that happened in the past. So for example, if you've say you trusted somebody in the past and they let you down, or they betrayed you in some way or another, and because of that it's made you very wary of trusting people, and you don't let anybody get close to you anymore. I think, it's good to learn from things that happened in the past, and mistakes, I'm going to put that in inverted commas, mistakes that may have happened in the past, but that doesn't mean every single person is out to get you. It doesn't mean that every person you trust is going to screw you over. I think it's a matter of dealing with each new person with, giving them the benefit of the doubt, that being open for them to be a good person and a good person to have in your life. And if, they start to turn out not to be, then that's fine. You let go of them and you've not lost anything, but you could potentially push someone away who could be someone who's really great to have in your life as a friend or a partner, or a work colleague, whatever the scenario. I think just because things have been bad in the past, don't let it state how you are in that same circumstance in the future, because it's almost like you lose a part of who you are because of something painful that happened in the past, if that makes sense. So I realised this year that I've had a very bad year. About 7 years ago, a year that I spent living down south in Kent. I had a horrible time, absolutely horrible time. And then I realised this year that there's certain things in my behaviour that I do because of that time in my life. And it really shocks me that I'm still actively carrying things in my day-to-day life that are from that time in my life where I had a horrible time. And the thought that just because I had a bad time for a year of my life, it's fundamentally changed who I am. So I'm taking it back. I'm taking those things back that bad time of my life took away from me. And it's not going to be easy. I know it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but I'm taking the small actions now to overcome those things and get part of myself back that I've lost for 7 years, however long it was. I think it was 7 years ago. The next thing I wanted to talk about is something that I like to call instinct versus logic. And this comes to when you're making any decision, however big or small. If it's whether somebody's offered you a job and you're trying to decide whether to take it, or you're in a restaurant and you can't decide between the tiramisu or the sticky toffee pudding, big decisions and small decisions. And there's two things, instinct and logic. Now, instinct is, in my gut, I always know what I really want, and in my gut, I always know what the answer is, okay? But then my brain always kicks in with the logical moniker, and I start breaking it down logically, weighing up pros, cons, ramifications, consequences. What would happen if I did that? What would happen if I did this? I start analysing it from a logical and systematic perspective. Now, the logical answer is not always the right answer. But what I mean by right answer, I mean it might not always be the right answer for you. It may be the right answer on paper. It may be the right answer to appease the other person who's helping you decide. But it might not be the right answer for you. And I've come to learn that my instinct and my gut is normally always right, especially when it comes to big decisions. When it comes to big decisions, my gut is normally always right. And I've learnt this from making decisions based on my gut, making decisions ignoring my gut, and when I ignore my gut and it's a big decision, like a work decision, I end up having an awful time. I end up not enjoying the work I'm doing. I end up not connecting well with the other people I'm working with. I end up leaving the project and feeling resentment towards it, or feeling bitter about it in some way, and I look back at my experience in it and I know I didn't really enjoy myself. Now I know I need to make decisions based on instinct, and I know it's easy to say that, but doing it is another matter. So there's a way of breaking it down and knowing whether the decision is right for you or not. So you need to think about the thought of doing whatever it is that you're posed with, whatever the options are. So say, for example, somebody asks me, do you want to do a voiceover for a documentary? Because I know you have a YouTube channel and you do a lot of sort of relaxed talking. Okay, so say somebody asks me to do that. So I'll think about the thought of doing that job, what I imagine it will be like when I'm doing it, when I'm recording it, or when I'm rehearsing for it. And if that makes me feel sort of light inside, and if it makes me feel like full of possibility, and like, ooh, full of possibility, full of potential, hope, if it makes me feel quite light, a little bit inspired, a little bit hopeful, then that normally means that I want to do it. Whereas if I think about it and it makes me feel really heavy, and it makes me feel like it's putting weight on me, the thought of doing that feels heavy, and it makes me go, ugh, rather than, then it's not the right decision for me. And I guess when you break it down simply, it comes down to whether the thought of it makes you go, or whether it makes you go, ugh. But I've really noticed it's made such a massive difference to how I feel on a day-to-day basis. I don't feel dragged down by certain things. I feel always happy to do the things that I have to do in life. And this, I guess it's not foolproof. Your own personal circumstances, your own personal relationships are different. What's right for me might not be right for you. You might be a person where logic makes sense and instinct messes you up. And if that's the case, then that's okay. If you learn that your logical decision is good for you and it makes you feel happy, then go with that. But what I've found is that my instinct and my gut are normally the right decision to go with, because it taps into my subconscious, and in my subconscious I know myself, and I know whether I really want to do something or whether I really want to not do something. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's kind of helped or made you think about things, or even if you disagree with me, that's great. At least you know you disagree and you know what your opinions are. Like I said before, sometimes if you know you don't like something, it's useful information, because then you know what you do like. So if you have any questions or you want to talk about it, just do it in the comments, and we'll have an open discussion about some of these issues and some of these techniques that I've talked about. And if you got something from it, then great. Even if you didn't like it, then great. So I'm just gonna do a little countdown now, because you've listened to me for a long time. I'm gonna do a little countdown to send you to sleep, okay? The new year has begun, and now it's even more important than ever to remember to relax. So find a comfortable place and lie back. Allow your eyes to close. And allow your body to let go. Your shoulders relax. Your toes relax. There is no tension in your hands, in your fingers. Your stomach is relaxed, free from the tension of the day. The tiny muscles on your face, around your eyes, just let go. Yeah. And now take a deep breath into your stomach and let go of the air. deep into the stomach and let go comfortably. I'm going to start from the number 54, and every time you hear the number, I'd like you to visualize the shape of the number in your head. You imagine it in all sorts of colours and fonts. So, 54, 53, 52, 'See the number 51, 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, 45. Keep listening to the numbers. 44, 43, 42, 41. Deep breaths into the stomach. 40, 39, 38, 37. It gets easier and easier to imagine the numbers. 36, 35, 34, 33. Feeling really relaxed now. Feeling lost in the numbers and my voice. 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26. So comfortable now. 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Feeling happy. Sleep is so close now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2,